So I've been doing some thinking lately about, my place in the world, where a lot of other people are in my generation and the generation that came after mine. And I know a lot of us are just not doing so well. In fact, it's not just a result of the current state of the economy, it's kind of been an ongoing issue. And I realize that a lot of people feel depressed and down in the current status quo. And I think what a lot of people need to realize is if our system were fair, if things like productivity actually kept up with wages, you would be making a significantly higher amount of money per hour at any job you manage to get. We're dealing with a society that has been fundamentally skewed further and further over time to take from us, the actual people who are doing work and producing labor and producing value, and give it to a parasitic upper class. And I know for a lot of people this isn't anything new, but I think it's hard for a lot of people to translate what they know intellectually into a visceral, emotional sense that they can act on, which I think is often what people really need. We are emotional creatures, after all. And I think one problem that we run into is, I think it's basically, we get caught up with trying to figure out ways to lift ourselves up in the current system. And we get further and further depressed when we throw ourselves up against the wall, so to speak. And we either improve for a little while and then plateau, or we never improve. And I think what people need to realize is it's not really your fault. This system is stacked against you, and it's not sustainable, it's deteriorating. And I mean, we're looking at a state where they're getting ready to, in his payout options, make Elon Musk the first trillionaire. Do you really think this dude is doing $1 trillion worth of work on anything? No. The system is fundamentally broken. I remember, actually, years ago, I'm sure many people have had this conversation with an older parent, where they try to guilt you for not making as much money as they think you should, or try to deride you for your current living situation. And one thing I remember is I eventually asked this parent, what she was making per hour. I don't remember the details now. I don't remember where this was. This was about in the 50s or 60s. They had me late. Anyway, and basically, when I looked up the amount of money she was making, it was the equivalent of $50 an hour in today's dollars. And she was complaining to me about never making as much per hour in her life as I make right now. And, the thing is, I never have ever come close to making $50 an hour. And while technically, yeah, the amount of money I make per hour is higher than the amount of money she made per hour in terms of actual dollar numbers, if you translate it into actual modern dollars, accounting for inflation, she made a lot more money than me. And I recall that my father telling me stories about literally being able to walk out of a shop. He did a lot of working with his hands in LA, and literally just go down the street and get another job within a couple of hours. Has anyone had an experience where they can even get a job within, I don't know, less than a year of like hard looking? I think a lot of us just need to realize it's okay to do what you have to do to survive. I mean, you're going to have people that are simultaneously complaining to you about not making enough to do well in this society while simultaneously going after you for being too privileged and, you know, supposedly making plenty of money to have a good life. And I can tell you from personal experience that's not true, even just over the last few years. I remember when I was making the amount of money I was making in like 2022 was significantly less than I'm making now. And without too many changes in my life situation, I'm having a much rougher time making it financially. And I'm making quite a bit more an hour per hour. And I think that's going to be true of a lot of people. The thing is, with this system, you just are not going to make it doing things the legitimate way, the way they expect you to in this system. And I think one thing we have to realize is it's okay to find and push for other systems. It's okay to tear this system down. And one thing that heartens me a bit is when I see people who are taking the imagery from the anime One Piece and are essentially executing revolutionary action, because it's very clear that the current trajectory that anyone who is not already wealthy is on is toward oblivion. I mean, you're only going to have so many years where you're able to work and barely be able to sustain yourself. How many people in your orbit do you know will ever be able to retire? How many people do you know have a pension? How many people do you know that are in any way secure if they lose the ability to work? So, if you have the opportunity to engage in the same type of action that these people who have embraced the straw hat imagery, go for it. If you have to pursue other opportunities to ensure that you can have a happy life and they don't conform to the way that this system tries to demand you conform to in order to make a living, don't worry about it. Just do what you need to do that doesn't hurt innocent people to secure yourself. And if you're concerned about helping others, remember, if you're drowning yourself, you can't help anybody. Your first priority is to get yourself secure and on your feet. And I think it's time we let go of the notion that you're going to do that strictly by working harder and harder at your dead-end job.